Before definitely was the courtyard house. That's a plan, and usually what I'm shading now is the courtyard. So this is the built environment, and that's the open space. And the city usually consists of beautiful blocks that are, shall we say, interacting with each other in an interesting way. Yeah, and creating this beautiful in-between spaces. Yeah, and every cluster, of course, they share a bigger open space, which called the farij. So a cluster of houses like that, sometimes they are attached, of course. They really share even another space, which is semi-private space. And this semi-private space is very important for the interactions of different families. And this is where the concept of a family, clan, and then the tribe, and then the society. It's strictly organized as a social organization. Nowadays, it's completely different because of the AC, I would say. And of course, because we want to still certain values remains within us, we want a private space, we want to keep a distance between. That wall was playing, the simple edge is playing that role. Now, we replaced it by having a 2-meter compound wall around our developments.
The whole purpose to build a wall around the house is meant to create a privacy for the people, which is not private, because you have your neighbors, yeah, and always overlooking at your plot. I mean, typically in a section, we have houses, and then we have a small compound walls, yeah, and this one, like in a plan, is a very simple straight line, and then you have these lines, and then you have this purpose. Now, one of the reasons for having such a big garden, yeah, is that people can enjoy their garden, yeah? But because of the privacy issue, that means your neighbor can always have a look at your garden. So the women of the family, they cannot even walk within their own garden without covering and, you know, lots of preparation before going to the garden. This is one of the main challenges or failure within the housing typology. You have the object typology itself, yeah, which is in a way exposed to the maximum heat and sun and the harsh condition of the desert, yeah. I mean, historically, you always had this really thick wall. So the concept of a thick wall that protects the house in terms of the privacy and then environmentally as well. And then you have a courtyard, which somehow it's a mean to recreate kind of a kind of microclimate, yeah. But this typology, in a way, I would say, has just been superimposed without any thinking, without any understanding, and so forth. And all of this space becomes a waste of a space. And people spend lots of money to make it green, to make it looks nice. Maybe sometimes they are able to open the windows. We don't have a natural water in our region. Most of the water is through desalination. So therefore, it's very expensive to maintain these gardens.
A modern fridge that could really, shall we say, develop. First of all, the sizes of these guys usually is 30 meter, 40 meter, which makes a distance between 3 neighbors up to sometimes 90 to 100 meters. Compactness, I think, is very important for us, and the way it's organized is very important for us. I'm talking about the higher level. A much more compact, definitely. Maybe interactive to a certain street that is open spaces, but a smaller also, shall we say, courtyards, not large ones, that respond maybe to the individual needs, because now we are becoming individualist. I would love to have my own gardens or my own open space, and one shared family space could really respond to a smaller and more interesting, shall we say, units that could really reflect on that.
I think one has to learn from this, yeah, but not to copy it. Yeah, I mean, I can have a still courtyard building in many different ways. I could have a courtyard building with maybe 5 courtyards, Yeah, I could have a courtyard building that is like, it more opens up. Yeah, and so this could be the courtyard maybe. So there are many ways to take kind of the values and bring it back into modernity. I think one of the main challenge, okay, for us, it would be, I would say, to really reduce the size of these plots. Yeah, because we need to save some lands for the next generations. Yeah, if I keep building every house 30 by 30, which is now only became to 30 by 30, I would not maybe have land for the generations forward. Yeah, to have much more interesting, maybe much more compacted typology. And this compactness even allows that the city becomes self-shaded, so less heat gain. And I would make the streets smaller, the alleyways smaller, so that you have a much more interesting, I would say, kind of streets and alleyways and maybe courtyards. And this would allow the walkability. It will allow for people to walk easily through the city, walk to the mosque, go your daily shoppings and so on, instead of depending totally on the car.
Distances of walking distances to other facilities is easier. In terms of urban, of course, that is very clear. But in terms of architecture, yes, it needs a challenge to see what that modern language could be. In my opinion, could be simplicity or a certain ethics, using the material of the time, of our time, rather than using a copy from different parts of the world. And that is a major problem we have in our culture now, because it's a culture based on trade. We could really buy pieces of a full urban, shall we say, atmospheres, or we could import a certain style, architecture style. It's something that is very naive, and it's just a surface that we are buying into that.
Okay, I would say I would look at the materiality. Of course, it's a very sensitive. We're living in a very modern and different environment than what my grandfather used to live. So what is the materiality of this building? How the insulation is working? How my glass detail is? How we somehow we somehow treat the whole glass in a way to allow enough light to come in, to somehow preserve the privacy of the people, and to somehow to keep enough heat out of the building. So I would say it's an holistic kind of approach, yeah, that one looks at all the typology and then you come up with a new typology for the housing within the region.